Okay, so today we are continuing to look at arithmetic sequences, and what you're going to be asked today is to actually find the explicit formula. So yesterday, either the explicit formula was given to you, and or the first term and the common difference, the d value, was all given to you. Today what's going to happen is I'm going to give you a sequence, and you're going to have to say, well, first of all, is it an arithmetic sequence? And then B, you're going to have to find the things you need to be able to write it. So here's the first thing that I want to remind you of. What is the formula for an arithmetic sequence? Okay, well, the formula is A sub n is equal to A1 plus parentheses n minus 1 times D, which is the common difference. That is the formula. That is what you are going to have to use to be able to write it here. Now, here are the things that you have to be able to write this. You need your A1 value, which is the first term in your sequence, and then you need your D value, which is the common difference. If you have those two things, you can write your explicit formula for arithmetic sequences. Okay, now the highlight to remember is when we say arithmetic sequence, that means the sequence has to be added or subtracted by the same number every time. It can't change, it's got to be the same. Questions on that? Okay, all right, so what I'm going to do is do number 1 and 2 on the front, and then we'll flip over and I'll do 2 on the back. They're just slightly different problems. Show you how to do it, make sure you're good to go, and then I'm going to let you work the rest of class on completing this worksheet because you've got to practice it to be great at it. So as we look at number 1, they ask you to find the explicit formula. Well, they give us the sequence of negative 29, negative 59, negative 89, negative 119. Okay? Now, some of you off the bat might be able to look at this and know exactly what your common difference is and everything like that. Here's what I want you to know. You need to first list out the two things you need. Well, you need your first term and you need your D value. Well, one of those things we can find really easily. The first term. It is simply the first number. Okay? So, your D value there, or excuse me, your A1 value is negative 29. Okay? Now, the next thing, it might take some practice to get used to figure it out. Okay? Some of them you can look at and know right away. Other ones you can't do. When you cannot just look at it, remember to find the D value. You take the second term and then subtract the first term from it. So as I look at this to find the D value, I would say, okay, well, I need to go negative 59 minus the first term, which was negative 29. Two negatives will make a positive. So negative 59 plus 29 becomes negative 30. So guess what your D value should be? Negative 30. Now, can you just assume because you did it for the first one that that's going to hold for every term? No. What you really need to do is make sure that pattern holds. Well, hey, how do I go from negative 59 to negative 89? You subtract 30. Negative 89 to negative 119. You subtract 30. Hey, that pattern does hold. So now I've got what I need. I've got my A1 and I've got my D value. So just a refresher. Remember, it's A sub n is equal to A1 plus n minus 1 times D. Well, all I got to do now is take those two things and plug them in. A sub n. Instead of A sub 1, I'm going to plug in a negative 29 plus n minus 1, D is negative 30. Now notice, because it was a negative, I went ahead and put it in parentheses. Okay? Here is the part that is going to be difficult. Technically, and I'm using the word technically, you are done at this stage. Because why? Well, that's everything plugged into the formula. we take a lot of multiple choice tests, right? There's questions that are multiple choice. Guess what? You will never see this answer written. We talked about it yesterday. Do you remember why? It is not reduced. You have got to reduce it. You have got to simplify it all the way down. So what that means is you've actually got to come over here and take this negative 30 and distribute it to the n minus 1. When you do that, you don't do anything with that negative 29 out in front, but negative 30 times positive n becomes minus 30n. Negative 30 times negative 1, two negatives will make a positive. 30 times 1 is 30. However, once you get to this point, guess what? You are still not done. You have got to combine like terms. So that is everything without an n. Well, what is negative 29 plus 30? Should be positive 1. So your final answer will be 1, and then you bring down your minus 30n. So your final answer is a sub n is equal to 1 minus 30n. And that is your explicit formula for this sequence. Questions? Are y'all feeling okay? You're not asking anything, so I guess we're good. All right, let's go over here and look at number 2. Okay? Number 2 is another one that gives us a sequence. It's negative 11, 9, 29, 49. Okay? Now, I'm going to show you a couple other tricks you can do to figure this out. Well, the first things first. I know I need my a sub 1 and my common difference, which is my d value. What is a sub 1 here? Negative 11. Now, as I'm going to figure this out, can I really just look at this and kind of know what it is to go from negative 11 to 9? Some of you might, but to me at first glance, that's kind of hard. But look at this. What if you look at this next one? Is it really easy to figure out how to go from 9 to 29? Yeah, what'd you do? Added 20. How do you go from 29 to 49? Add 20. Well, hey, let's go back and check. I would literally take my calculator and say, hey, what is negative 11 plus 20? And guess what number you get out? 9. So guess what? To go from negative 11 to 9, it's another one that is plus 20. All of those are the same, so your common difference is 20. Now, we've got those two pieces. Let's come down here and plug them in. So a sub n will equal a1 is negative 11 plus parentheses n minus 1. Your d value is positive 20. Am I going to stop right there? No. I got to take that 20 and distribute it. So I get negative 11 plus 20n. Negative 1 times 20 becomes negative 20. Now I've got two like terms that I need to combine. Negative 11 and negative 20 becomes negative 31 plus my 20n. Remember, I can't combine the 20n because it's got a variable. It is not a like term with the other two. And that is your final answer. Questions? Feeling okay? All right. So those are the types of problems that are on the front. What I want you to do now is flip over to the back. I'm going to do two of those types of problems, okay? Here on these, they actually go ahead and give you the first term and the common difference. And then they ask you to find the explicit formula. Well, guess what? That's doing exactly what we did, except we don't have to go through and figure out what our D value is because it's all given to you. So what I'm going to write at the top, just as a reminder, is what does the explicit formula look like? And it's A sub n is equal to A1 plus n minus 1 times the D value. But just like we said here, the cool thing is they go ahead and give you your A sub 1 and your D. So then it just comes down to you plugging them in. Well, A sub n would equal 23 plus n minus 1 times your D value, which is 2. You can't leave it in this form. You need to go through and simplify it. So you start by distributing. So 23 plus 2n. 2 times negative 1 becomes a minus 2. You have the like terms of 23 and negative 2. So A sub n would equal 21 plus 2n. And that would be your explicit formula. Are there any questions on that? Okay. I want you to be great at these things because as we add geometric in the next couple days, it's going to make it a little bit harder for you. Okay? So let's come over here and look at number 10. Number 10 is the same idea. Again, they give us our A1 and our D value. So we simply have to plug it in. A sub n would equal 13 plus n minus 1 in parentheses times your D value, which is 30. You've got to distribute that 30 so that we can simplify this out. 13 plus 30n minus 30, because 30 times negative 1 is negative 30. You have like terms of positive 13 and negative 30, so A sub n would equal negative 17 plus 30n. That would finalize to give you your explicit formula. Okay? Does anybody have any questions on these? All right. So we're going to work with this today and very similar tomorrow. And then Thursday we'll probably add a few things. Like I might ask you to find a couple terms, things of that nature, just to make sure we're good and ready to go. All right? Okay, so I'm going to let you work the rest of this class time to make sure you finish up this worksheet. Nothing needs to be submitted today for Canvas. We will do that tomorrow. Ready, set, go.